Hey, Jeannas. It's been like way too long since I've seen you. But
Hi, so good to see you too.
so I have a little story, and with it is a question. And it crossed my mind because so this is what happened. So I'm at work, and a coworker friend of mine, she has her husband passed a few years ago, and he's been bugging her. Mostly he's bugging me to talk to her. And so every now and then, I'll give her a little message, but it's to the point where, mid conversation, he'll start bugging me, and I'll like be trying to talk to her about work, and I'm like, just leave me alone for a minute. I got to get this done. And she laughs because she knows, she just knows it's him. So recently his mom has been bugging her for like the past week, and she figured out it was her because her first name started popping up everywhere. The last name, like she was driving somewhere, and she asked, who is this bugging me? And sure enough, the last name's on mud flaps, and like different things are popping up. So she's like, okay, I know it has to be her. And like, so she's like, what do you think, and what does she want? So yeah, I took a minute and I tapped in, and I told her, I was like, it's time for him to cross over. She's trying to get him to go with her. He's been hanging out here too long. He wasn't ready. He still thinks he's not ready, but you need to let him go. You need to tell him. And so, as I'm just, as you know, guided to say exactly what comes to mind, just throwing it all out there. So I said, light some candles.
Always, always.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like light some candles, like burn some sage. I'm like, no, maybe not sage. Like there's something, a
Some people,
fragrance.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm like,
can't
a
handle the
fragrance.
stage.
I don't know. I'm thinking lavender. And I'm like, no, not lavender. I'm like, maybe a rock. I'm like, no, that's not right either. And I couldn't quite get it. And finally I stopped, and I kind of took a couple breaths, and I go, all right. And I'm thinking out loud, said, what is it that she needs? And I heard very loudly, she'll know when she sees it. So I told her, I said, okay, you're going to know.
Love it.
Yeah, you're going to know when you see it, but you need to sit down. You need to do this, have a conversation. She says, well, I had that conversation with him before he died. And I said, but not since. And you need to do it again because he's in a different place now. Things are different. His thought process is different. But with this story, it made me start thinking, why is it that when we light incense and a candle or sage, or all of them separately or together, what is it about? Is it the aromatherapy? Is like, what is it that makes us have that higher frequency, or what helps us to move the energy? Like, why do we even need it?
I mean, so exactly what you just said, like it comes through like so strong when I was tuned into it. And like it's different for everybody. Like some people they need incense, some people need a sage, some people need uh, uh Palo Santo, some people need like smudging sticks, and like there's so many different things.
Right.
um it's interesting because I don't know either. Like sometimes it just comes through, and whatever it is for that certain people. Like some people like cannot stand a sage, and they get repulsed by it, and like
Irritated.
they almost want to throw up and like get sick from it. So
They're
it's
evil.
interesting to look at that. Like I'm not really sure about that. I'd love to have somebody on here that can talk about that, but like I know that there are people that, but when I get guided to tell certain people certain things like you're talking about, and
Mhm.
you're guided to be like, oh, light a candle, do this, it's like, I mean, my guides are coming through. So sometimes it's interesting. Some people don't understand this. Like, just because we're saying it as an intuitive, we don't actually know what it really means, though, sometimes. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, this is the information coming through for you. I'm a conduit. This is the information. Take it or leave it. I'm not pushing it on you. But I mean, sometimes I don't even know why. But if they were to, in a session, ask me, then I would get another intuitive hit, and then I would tell them. So each person is individual. Everybody's got different things that work for them and don't work for them. So if I was guided to, like, if they were to ask me, then I would go into that, but everybody's different. So
Right.
Sarah, Joe, John, Malia, whatever, everybody's got their own story. There's like different things will come through, and there's different reasons why sage is good for you, not for you, but then for you. And those sages could be different for those different people. So it's hard to say, like, it's hard to explain. I just get the info and I just like say it. And then I know for me too, like I work with clients sometimes and they want, so their higher self says, I need fucking sage. So sage. And so I sage them out and do these different things. And I've got different things like, I'm all, you need to get on my vibration thing over here that wiggles you out. And like, some people need that. That's their sage, So there's sage, and sage. Like there's so many different things people need to like shake it out and move it out. So I believe that that's like a open-ended conversation. Like I don't even know, but I'd love to have another person that could come through and like talk about that more. But I don't believe there's like, do this, do that, do this, do that. It just depends on the person.
Yeah. Like, I just wonder sometimes, like, with aromatherapy, like lavender's relaxing. And I don't know, I just keep, right now, I keep thinking about cinnamon. I don't know what cinnamon's supposed to do, but for some reason, that's what I'm thinking about right now.
So then that means like maybe like take a little bit in. Excuse me.
Thinking burning it.
I drank too much water too fast. So the fact is like sometimes for lavender, it could be too much for people. It's too much for them. So it could be like good for somebody else, but not for another person. Cause I just had somebody that hated it. Like I had it on me and they're like, oh, they were offended by it. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like everybody has their own things. It's hard to like prescribe something to everybody because it's like per person and different things.
Mm-hmm. So she hasn't done it yet, but I think she's gonna this weekend. So I'll let you know what happens if I go back to work and he's no longer there bugging me.
Exactly. I would love to hear about it because everybody has their own things, but everybody ultimately knows what works for them. And so sometimes they like spout out to somebody just to like help them out. And then they have the right like wordage or verbiage, whatever you want to call it, to say something that just helps them like go into whatever they need to go into. And sometimes that's like all the nudge that they need to get into it.
It's definitely an interesting place to work. I can tell you that much.
Well, yeah, tell me some stories about it. Like, so you're an intuitive and an empath, and I know you don't practice that outside of your, work thing as much as, other people that are like, having clients and stuff. But I knew when you got that job, I was like, wow, this is going to be interesting because she's so highly evolved in that sense and can sense so many things. Can you tell us a story or something, or something that like you're just like blown away by, like since you've been there for like, what has it been, about a year or less?
It's 6 months, 7 months since July.
Okay.
Actually, I started on the 1st of July.
So what have you what is like if you could think of a story right now that's like boom, like what is it? And I mean, I know you've already said a few things, but is there a boom one?
Not really, because I've been overly cautious to be protected every day before I go into work, because I don't want the chaos, and you know what I mean, the chaos that happens when you're not protected and there's so many people on the other side trying to talk to you.
Okay, so let's stop there. Like, so what does that look like? You walk in the door, there's all this chaos going on. You've got like a family coming in to do a hello, we want to, do our memorial for our person or our wake or whatever they want to call it. And you're seeing things. What do you do with that information? What do you do with those visions? What do you do with all that?
Majority of the time I try to block it before I go in.
Okay, so you actually block it before you go in. But have there been times that you don't do that? Like, and you just walk in? What does that look like? Because I want to look at that. I want to see what that looks like.
Well, I think I told you about the first time. Well, yeah, the first time that it happened in this building. It was actually with the first family that I met with on the second day. They came in one day. They're such a wonderful family, but there was a lot of them, a lot of family members all crammed into the like living room area of the building. And that day I was pretty well blocked. The second day they came back to do some more paperwork. And so I sat down with them. And as the funeral arranger was talking to the family and I'm filling out the forms, the one that had passed away leans over my shoulder and starts making jokes. And he had this huge laugh. He's just a big, lovable guy, huge laugh. And he's like, tell my sister that one, that'll make her laugh. And I'm in my head, I'm like, no, like, I can't do this. And he starts cracking up, and he was telling me how like they travel in a pack. Like, look, they travel in a pack. They're like a herd. And he just kept cracking himself up. And so I'm sitting there trying not to giggle because he was funny. But at the same time, thankfully, there were so many people and they're all talking to each other that I don't think they noticed. But I kept having to tell him, like, stop it. Just, I can't right now. And after everything was said and done, we walked him out the door. And the mom was standing there chatting with the funeral arranger. And he just kept telling me, he's like, hug my mom, hug my mom. And, we're still wearing masks and, COVID. And so I told him, I was like, I can't, I cannot do that right now. And he was like, okay, but it was very entertaining. After that, I took a little more care to try to protect myself and to let them know, like, this is not the appropriate time to be trying to talk to me. So thankfully, since then, I haven't had a whole lot when it comes to the families, but I do generally know because they travel with their bodies. It's like, and it's not always, they're not always there, but when we're pushing the bodies through to go to a service, to set up a service, a lot of times they're following, just walking right behind. Like they're just making sure that we're taking care, and then they're going to be in the service or at the service when the family's there. So it's almost like they're just hanging around waiting for the family to say their goodbyes so that they can go. At least that's what it feels like most of the time.
That's totally, like, I was like wondering, I was going to ask you this because I've got my own intuitive things from my side, but that's curious to see your side. Like, are they just waiting for us to like release and let go of, and then they will like fly off? Because that's kind of what I've gotten, like with some of the work that I've done and just experienced. And like, it's crazy. It's like almost like they're ready to go, but they're waiting for us to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And like I do that, like there's like another realm that comes through. Like we're here and they're not that they're above us or anything, but
they're like
they're in
3
a different
feet,
maybe I could go like that.
It's almost like the same, but 3 feet higher. Like it's just vibrating 3 feet higher. It seems like.
That's why I was doing this circling thing. And then I went like this because I'm like not trying to say they're above us, but they're definitely in another dimension for sure.
Yeah.
and they are doing other fucking shit that I wish I could do. And so it's interesting to think about that, because it's like people that want to kill themselves, or you know, and then I'm really infatuated with near death experiences and stuff. So I would love for somebody that has had that to come through to our show and be on our show about that, because I'm infatuated with like how that works. But that they go, no, and I want to come back. But I mean, it's interesting to think about all the people that were like, I'm fucking not going back. I'm fucking going over there. You know what I mean? Because I just was watching a show the other day, go like, I want to come back. And I'm like, why do all these fucking people want to come back? And then they have these like gnarly depressions for like not saying anything wrong with that. I'm just like, they'll come back and like, there's like usually like some sort of a depression period that happens, and they're like in a lull. I thought they would come back and feel like, I'm alive, I'm happy, and they are not. They are fucking in doom and gloom. Most of the ones that I've seen and people that I've talked to in person. But I'd love to know how many people have gone and said, fuck that, peace out, bitches, I'm over here. You know what I mean? Like there's something to be said about that too. And like, why are we so fucking hooked on being here and not there, whatever that is, and whatever here is, and whatever, like, you know, people talk about all this kind of different stuff, like we're in a cyber thing and we're just playing a video game. And I talk about it all the time, like, hey, if you don't like know how to play the game of life, you will lose the game of life. So play the fucking game. And not to be a player, like people think like on dating sites are like, oh, I don't want to have somebody that's like playing games and this and that, but life is a game. And I remember hearing this when I was a kid, hearing it from another source. And I'm like, I don't want to play games. I don't want to do that. And I was super depressed and super upset and super just not in a good space. But I remember hearing this vision coming through, and I didn't want to hear it because I was like, I don't want to play games. But at the same time, I heard, wake the fuck up, get up, play the game. This is how it works. It doesn't mean that you're playing a game means bad things happen or you're being a bad person. You play the game and win millions of dollars and have fucking cool things happen, and jackpots and sparkles and rainbows and unicorns are like sparking over there. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just, and you get like superpowers and different like things happening. It's not a bad thing. And so for some reason, when I was a kid or in my teenage years, I thought that was bad. But it's really about like, I don't know what this reality really is doing or creating or
Learning
simulating.
situation.
Yeah,
It's like we're in
everybody's got
school
their
forever.
own thing. Yeah, so it's just like there's so many things that come through on that.
Yeah, it's crazy. The one thing that bothers me is there's residual energy in my building.
There's what?
Residual energy. So like I see two children playing downstairs in the corner. I know that it's not the spirit. I know that they're not stuck there. It's just an imprint of that's where they were.
So wait, let me stop you there, because I have this question so much. So you and I have different abilities, and so I've always wondered about that, like imprints. To me, sometimes it feels so real because I had a traumatizing experience when I was a kid. So it all feels real to me. So how do you know residual between haunting, between et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I asked about it, and I've also
You ask
never.
wait, you ask the spirits,
Yeah,
or you ask?
the powers that be,
Okay, so you ask your
like
energies
my
that you're
guide.
working with. Okay,
Yeah.
so you ask your people that are working with you, because I have a bunch of energies that work with me. So so you ask the energies, what is this? And then and then you hear
It's
what you're
residual
saying.
energy. Yeah.
Interesting. I personally don't know the difference. At my young years in this whole thing, I really don't know the difference between that. I know what I know, and it comes through very clear and very loud. That's why I have no problems like referring other people to other practitioners to do other things. We all have our specialties, and that's a cool thing to know that, and like, and that's also good to know, but like, okay, that's going to teach me to like go, okay, Janaea, just go in,
Yes.
ask this, and do that, instead of being, it just, sometimes will draw me to like a certain spot, and then I go back in time, and then it's like, oh shoot. So that's cool to know that. I mean, it's interesting. It's all interesting.
Yeah. There's definitely spirits that stay with the house, or the building, I should say. It's not no longer a house. But
Or the property, the land.
yeah, well, the one gentleman, he's wearing like a suit from the 1920s, maybe early 30s. I've seen him quite a few times. He's usually agitated. He's always up in one certain area of the house. That's where he's the clearest to me. But different times, like sometimes he has a jacket on. Sometimes it's just like his shirt, like he's unbuttoned it and just kind of pulled at it. So he's a little disheveled, and like messy looking, but not bad. He's not dirty or anything. So I don't know like what's going on with this guy. And I've not really taken the time to ask or look into it, because when I do try to talk to him, he's agitated and he's just like, and he's kind of
So this
stomps
is
off.
not your, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted. What were you
That's okay.
saying?
He just kind of stomps off. Yeah.
So he's at the place that you work at, correct? Or at your,
Yeah, he's in the building that I work at.
okay.
But I don't know who he is. I haven't gotten that far. When I start to ask questions, he's already agitated. I think that he's who I feel when I go downstairs and I get really uncomfortable, but I haven't tapped into that because I'm working. I usually am like, not right now, guy, gotta go. So I just keep doing
Okay,
my
so
job.
what if you could go in right now and see him and talk to him right now? Are you down to go in? Because I'd go in with you and see. What does he have? He's got a message. He wants to say something. He might be the guy that wants to like roam the whatever, but like I would love to see. I mean, if you're down to see what he has to say.
Sure. I've never tried to do it from a distance.
Well, hey, if you're down, like let's do it.
All right, all right.
So
So guide me on this one, because I like I said, it's usually if I'm just right there in his space, but I've
all
never done
right.
it
Well,
from.
you're already there. He's been talking to me. He's been like he's the one telling me to tell you this. So, I mean,
Okay.
I'm just, being guided. So he's right there. So just take a couple deep breaths, focusing in your heart space, knowing that you've got this. And whatever it is. Without trying to downplay it or figure anything out, just say what comes up. Best and highest good, best and highest way. He's coming through right now. What is he telling you? What's going on?
He didn't want to sell his house. He was not happy. It got turned into a business. But at the same time, he was happy to sell it because he knew it's what he needed to do. His family didn't realize the financial predicament he was in at that moment. But he doesn't like the other spirits coming through. He does not like them there. And there are a lot, there are quite a few. And so when they're really active, that's why he gets so agitated.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you ask him a couple questions? He's stuck in this location, but what if he were to, what if you were to ask him to fly off from here and he come back here to check in? Like there's no like void here, but just to go into another realm, another dimension, another reality really for him, and then come back here if he wants to. Can you ask him those questions or put it in your own words for him?
He feels like he needs to protect his home.
He needs to protect his body.
His home.
His what?
His home. He needs to protect his home. He thinks
Home.
that
Okay.
if he leaves, then the ones that are transitioning through will stay because it's a beautiful empty place.
So where is this home at?
Downtown.
Okay. So are you able to go down to his town or like in his like downtown to his home?
Where I work? No, his
Well,
home
wherever
was his home is where
wherever
I
his
work.
location is. What?
His home is where I work or was.
Okay. So that is it. So his home is there because, explain that again. Like he passed there?
He built it. He
So
built.
that's okay. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. So let me just tune into that and see. All right. So yeah, I see it. No, he's like, oh, I'm set here. I'm good. So he chooses then to be a soul here then.
Yes.
So if you were to ask him heaven or hell and where this place is where he's at, this home, where does he feel like he is on a scale of a 0 to a 10, 0 being hell, quote unquote, right? 10 being heaven, sparkles and rainbows and all that. Where does he feel like his home is at? What is his like number that he's at this home?
He says it's different on the day.
Yeah. What's the variation?
Between 3 and 7.
Okay. Yeah. And if he could choose to be anywhere.
He doesn't think that there is anywhere else because this is where he
Okay.
needs to be.
Okay. So what if you told him there were other doors that he could walk through?
He's getting irritated.
I mean, okay.
He's
What if you told him there was other doors he could walk through and have the same thing that he is craving now, but in another reality? What does he say when you tell him that?
He laughs. And
Okay.
he's irritated. He's all done.
Okay. So what I got from that is there's no for like he is so like, and that's why I was guided from my guide. This isn't Jeanette talking, this is my guide saying this. He's fucking happy right here and he's cool right here. And there's going to be some energies that just want to be in this location and they don't want to go another place, whether that be up, down, roundabout, or around, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Like they don't want to go anywhere else. They want to be here. And so he definitely is like fucking planting his ass here. And you know what? Good for him. He's fucking happy to be here, and that's his deal. So good for you though, to like be able to just like recognize there's certain people that are empaths and can walk into things and can feel energies around them. And it took me a long time to be comfortable with that kind of energy, because I'd be like, oh my God, there's something that's not supposed to be here. And but they weren't tormenting me. They were just around. So he's the kind of guy that is not like tormenting anybody. He's not, being super positive or super negative. Like you were saying, he was kind of has this grumpy thing, but he's just like a normal like person on this like same realm that we live in, that's just like wanting to like live on the same universe or like parallel, like I can't put it into words,
Plain.
this stream that we live on. And he's fine with it, and he's like knows it to a certain degree, but he also doesn't want to leave it. So that's a cool soul to be around. Like I could like bounce around with a soul like that, that's in this reality, like knowing like, hey, I'm gonna walk into the bathroom, excuse me, because I'll do that. Like I'll walk into rooms and I know that there's spirits there. I'm like, hey, excuse me, I know I'm walking in here. I'm just letting you know I'm walking in and doing my thing, and you know what I mean, getting out of here. I'm not trying to cause any like rift.
I do that. I do that too at work when I'm going downstairs, especially when I go downstairs.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm just coming down to get some books. I'll be out of your way in a second.
Yes. Yes. So he's a kind of like, even though he's got his little pissy pants way, like he's not here to harm anybody. He just wants to like do his thing and live his deal, and he's gonna stay claim to that. And like, and I always do that. Like I'm not here to like to push anybody out of anything. Thank you for telling me your story, and peace be with you. And so peace be with you when you walk in the doors and all that. I don't think you have to say anything necessarily. I don't remember why we even brought that up with him, but there's nothing to be worried about with him. He's a very like sweet, I could feel his soul is very sweet and very he's just like and he's very loyal.
He's
So
protecting his home. He's
yeah,
making sure that the bad ones can't stay.
yep, exactly. So I don't know why you brought him up, but he's a sweetness, and yeah, exactly what you just said. So
Yeah. I guess I should probably do some research and find out his name. I mean, I could ask him, but
yeah, but I mean, whatever it is, it's cool to be able to like, he's definitely got I don't know why the word ancient came through, but he's got like a oldness to him, old soulness to him, like not just, so when I being guided to say that, it's like not just this lifetime, but like many. And it gets kind of complicated when I get information, but like he's had, so weird to hear this. I've never heard this before, but he's had a few lifetimes, which I still don't quite comprehend it, but he hasn't crossed over on numerous lifetimes. This isn't the only one. So I still have a hard time.
I get it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Okay, because
wow, your camera's doing some weird things. He lives a life, he likes it. He wants to preserve what he did, what he built. So he sticks around as long as he can until somebody like me comes in and talks him into moving on. Like, we're okay here. You don't need to protect it anymore. So he goes on and he'll do it again. Unless that life was different and he doesn't really care. So he'll do a couple fast ones, but then he'll find one that he really is proud of what he did, or there's something that makes him regretful, so he wants to try to fix it. And he'll stay there. He'll stay there beating himself up, trying to fix what it is that went wrong, or that he sees isn't exactly the way he wanted it to be. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. As soon as you said, I'll let them all boom. That was a tag team read. I'm just saying, because like that was so like boom, 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 like filled in all the blanks of what, you know, I was getting. Like when you're talking about like doing a read for somebody, when they're presently talking to you, it's interesting to hear, like, and then all the information comes through. But that was cool to like see that we both did it and it just came through. But he's like all he's like all, I don't know, he's like doing this little thing, I don't know. I just did that. I don't know what that means, but he did it. So I'm like, okay, robot. I don't know what he was doing, but it was cool. Because he's fucking hearing all this shit. He's like all, yeah. And now he's just like, I don't know. He's just getting, I don't know, excited, whatever that means. But yeah, interesting.
Well, hopefully he's in a better mood. So when I see him, he's usually not too thrilled.
You're all fucking snap out of it, bitch. Get up with it. Get the, yeah. You know, like, I mean, I think you just need to freaking like be like, come on, let's just wrap this up. Like, get over your little wahs. Let's just get on with the day. Like, I really feel like what I'm getting is that he just needs like that slap in the butt, snap in the fingers, like something like just to like pop him out of wherever he's at, because he's in this like rat wheel thing. But he keeps doing it, like you were just saying, like, and I was saying, it's like, well, our guys were saying the rat wheel, and he just keeps going and keeps going, and then he jumps another dimension, then he keeps going again, and then he's like lost in another worlds, like, because he's like not like fully like, so his soul pieces are fragmented. So soul pieces, like when I do my energy work every day, I try to, that's the one thing I could say that I really try to do every day, is like aligning, balancing, and pulling in all my fucking soul pieces for all my lifetimes. Some people have had 1, 2, 3, 4 thousands of lives. Like it could be so many, but like to pull our soul pieces back and on a daily basis, because when we work through our shit, like let's say I pulled my soul pieces back from yesterday, but then I worked through my mommy issues today. Well, now I need to pull more soul pieces back because of like mommy issues from like, she was not my mom just this lifetime. She could have been 20 lifetimes ago again. And like, you know, like all the times coming forward. And so she could have been 20 lives back and then never until now. But it's just interesting to like always pull your pieces back, cleanse them, wash them, bring them back into yourself. There's so many things, like people like come in and they get irritated because they like know so much, and then it's almost more irritating and more depressing to live in this life. But the fact is like it is a bonus and a scorecard to be here. We just have to learn to like live with it and be in it. And I have my own issues with it sometimes, like where I'm like, fuck, I feel so fucking drained and sucked and like, ugh, and just like fucked. And I've got to do all my fucking shit to like balance, realign. And like some people could come and cry into me and I'm feeling like depleted. And I'm like, you know what? Like the fact is when you know what you got to do what you got to do to fucking balance that out. Like sometimes it's like too much for the human mind to understand. And therefore you've got to then continually recalibrate, realign your system so that you can live in the reality that this is right here. Whatever this is, we're in. And you know, we can bitch all day about it. But if you want to be here, then you got to be here. If you want to be there, then you can shut the fuck up and not be here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and I'm talking about myself. Like, I mean, I'm not downing anybody, but some people come to me, they're like, I blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, fuck, you're here now, girl or guy. And you know what? If you want to be here, you got to fucking do all this shit that I fucking have to do all the time to be here. Cause you know what? Sometimes I dip down too. You know, I've heard this a long time ago. It takes a lot for angels to come down to our reality so that they can talk to us, be with us, because they're so high vibrational and it fucking takes so much energy to go down. You know what? It's almost easier to go up. And so that's just an analogy that I'm putting out there because, like,
You picture twisted.
it's a lot for people to comprehend, and they get.
All right. Well, I don't know what happened there, but guess it means it's time to go. So thanks for everybody for coming and listening to our conversation. Um, hope you all enjoy, and we'll talk to you again soon. Okay.